I originally moved to Defuniak Springs in, I believe, December of 1966. I had left Judson College and came down here and got my first job with a gentleman by the name of Clyde Wells, who was an attorney at the time. An interesting tidbit is that I moved into a two-story apartment on Park Avenue. I now live across the street from that apartment. Been quite a number of years, but I can look up and see that apartment that I used to go in. So I wasn't here but about a week or so whenever Clyde Wells was looking for a secretary. The lady that he had been hired to move to Washington, D.C. and work there. I didn't ever expect to do that kind of work. I actually went to Judson and was majoring in biology and chemistry and was going to be a med tech. But I applied here and there were no job openings, so Clyde Wells came and knocked on my door and asked me to come to work for him, and I did. So I worked with Clyde Wells over 10 years. First when he was an attorney, and then when he became circuit judge. So I was with him the first part of my journey into Defuniak Springs. I learned a lot from Judge Wells, from Clyde Wells. He immediately wanted me to know your name and who you were kin to. And he could even tell you your phone number. I couldn't go that far. But he pulled me out of my shell, because I was a young woman at the time, very young, in my early 20s. And he pulled me out of my shell and made me meet people, made me speak to them, made me know who they were and all in the community. So Clyde put me on a path of lifelong knowing people, talking to them, being friendly. He brought that out in me because he was like that. He never met a stranger. He was good to absolutely everybody, unless you hurt a child, and then you would regret it. But my years with him, especially once we moved up to the courthouse, to that third floor of the courthouse, they were interesting years. I learned a lot from him. So he decided to introduce me to a man by the name of Robert Comander. He thought that I would stay here in town. So he did, and I never will forget. Robert came up and met me and later asked me for a date. The rest is history. But surprise, surprise, Clyde Wells, Robert Comander asked me to marry him, and I left Clyde and started, of course, running the funeral home. By that time, Robert's parents were out of the funeral business, so that's whenever Robert and I bought the funeral home. His mom had a stroke, so he bought it and we started running, and that was we ran it together for 18 years. Every moment I spent there meeting people, being able to help people, being a part of their life. They considered you as part of their family. A guy by the name of Dan Bodiford came along. He was running for clerk of court. And once he was elected, he asked me would I come be his executive assistant, I think is what he called it. So I was actually the first one in the county that had that big title. And I worked with him for about 5 years. A little while after that, a gentleman by the name of Ron Kelly and I bought a radio station. And those were fun years. Those were years for me that we got to do fun stuff. We got to do radiothons, and we'd go to people's businesses and interview people. I'd dress up in stupid costumes. And I think one time I dressed up as a chicken. We were doing something and I dressed up as a chicken. But it was fun. I even had a show on Friday afternoon, a Goldie Oldie show, which I just loved, of course, because 50 and 60 music is my favorite. So I got to do that with the radio station. Ron and I decided to sell. Radio business was fun and interesting, but it was tough too. I took off, I think, a few months, and then Ken Little came to me. And at that time, he was Board of County Commissioner, Public Information Officer. And he asked me if I would come work with him. So he was Public Information Officer and I was Public Information Coordinator. And we worked together. That was a fun job as well. I did that for a number of years, and then I decided to run for county commissioner. I ran for Walton County Commissioner District 4 in 2006. Can truly say, by the grace of God and my friends and those that loved me, stood by my side and helped me through that first campaign. God blessed me, and I won that first election. Those were 12 years of the most interesting time in my life. There again, those were good years. I loved serving the public. I loved the people that I worked with and the employees in Walton County. Those people are not given enough consideration. They work hard every day. When it's hot outside, those men in public works and women are outside. When it's raining outside, they're outside. When it's 32 degrees, they're outside. They're working. When there's a storm going on, they're out there in the storm clearing the roads and all. I mean, they are hard workers. And I loved every minute of working with all the county employees, and especially my road crew. I got they were family to me. Randy Lingerfelt's one of the finest men I've ever known. Those are the things that I liked about being a commissioner. Answering the phone and somebody needing my help and me be able to do something about it. That was like, yes, to be able to actually solve problems was what kept me going. I had good staff. I had good support. I couldn't have done it on my own. When I moved here, you could go down to that beach and walk for miles and miles and never see a soul. You didn't see anybody. You could build a bonfire on that beach and roast you some hot dogs and there'd be nobody. And now I don't think you can go 2 feet without stumbling over somebody. So the growth has happened, and it's going to take Walton County a while to catch up. Yeah, especially infrastructure. The challenges that Walton County faces, even when I was in office and even now, they are truly challenges. I sometimes feel sorry for the commissioners that are in office now. I'm thinking, I would love to be back in office, but then I think, no, I'm pretty good on the sidelines, The Defuniak Business and Professional Association was morphed out of, I guess that's the word I need to use, out of the Downtown Merchants Association. That was a limited group of people. John Creel was on it. I don't know whether people remember him. He owned Creel Ford Company. J.W. Atkinson was on it. Owned Comander Funeral Home at the time. And when I could stand on the front porch of Comander Funeral Home and look in that direction, I could see downtown Defuniak. It was dying, literally dying. There were maybe the 3 drugstores were left. There was one shop that sold fabric and notions and that kind of thing. There was storefront after storefront after storefront empty. The Herald, of course, was down on the 3rd block where Fisher Pharmacy is. But we were dying on the vine. I came up with this idea myself, and her name was Faye Alford, got together, and we went and talked to a young man by the name of Bobby Ranger. Bobby Ranger ran First National Bank. He ran it. And we thought, what can we do? What can we do to bring business back uptown? What can we do? So we came up with this brilliant idea of having a festival on Baldwin Avenue. We decided to call it Hometown Christmas. We got us a flatbed trailer. We got some we round up some entertainment. We'd gotten some prizes. I put out, because Faye knew crafters and all, she sent out, we had us some crafters coming uptown. And we were going to hold our first Hometown Christmas. Well, it happened to drizzle. It didn't rain hard that day, but it drizzled. So the band people didn't show up, so we were playing music, loudspeakers and that sort of thing. And the thing I remember most about that day is Bobby Ranger and I did a Minnie Pearl impression. He did some country guy, I've forgotten, and I did Minnie Pearl. They found me a straw hat, and we were trying our best to entertain people that were coming. And we had a crowd. People came uptown. It was absolutely fabulous. And I even had one of the people that owned a shop uptown that was so negative came and told me that's the best day he'd ever had. And that's how Hometown Christmas got started. So the money that we get from Hometown Christmas, the DVPA does, helps also pay for the 4th of July celebration. So now we have done Hometown Christmas now will be 35 or almost 36 years, I'll have to look. We've done it that long. We still do it on Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, always. But we have opened it up to a half a day on Sunday. We open after church is over on Sunday, and we're getting more and more people coming from church. And we have food vendors, of course, so people come and get something to eat, and they spend their Sunday afternoon there. So that is really benefiting the crafter. We had the most crafters last year than we've ever had. That's one of the joys in my life, is being able to do Hometown Christmas. And then after the DVPA did Hometown Christmas, the President of the United States at that time asked for every small town in America to have a 4th of July celebration. Well, we hadn't had one in the Funiac for as long as I could remember. A guy by the name of Scott Makeda owned the radio station at that time, and he let us do a telethon from his radio station. I personally went to the bank, unbeknownst to my husband at the time, and borrowed $5,000 from Bobby Ranger to buy the first fireworks, and prayed to God that I could replace that $5,000. So the Chamber of Commerce at that time and the First Baptist Church, they sold fried chicken dinners on that 4th of July. And we made enough money to pay that $5,000 back and to start on the pot for the next year. So that is how the 4th of July started. When I first moved here, business was booming downtown. Beasley's clothing store was downtown. I believe there was a jewelry store on Baldwin Avenue and also, Rhodes on the side street. I remember the Five and Dime, and then next to it was Wise's department store. What I remember about Wise's department store is they had a Santa Claus that rode a bicycle. I loved that thing. I loved seeing at Christmas, seeing that. Man, Santa was pedaling his way. That was to me the height of Christmas. And my first Christmas here, of course, didn't have any money. I went to the Five and Dime and bought a music box. I still have that music box with 2 Santa's elves on it, and you turn it played Jingle Bells or something. But I bought like 3, and I bought an angel for my little Christmas tree at that Five and Dime. Thing I remember about Wise's was a wonderful lady that I later became to know and love in my life, by the lady by the name of Betty Hunt. She worked in Wise's. Betty was one of the sweetest, kindest ladies, and I do say lady, that I've had the privilege of knowing in this town. I kind of like the hometown atmosphere of Defuniak Springs. I don't know that will ever change. When we get in that lake yard, and there are 5,000 or 6,000 of us in that lake yard celebrating the 4th of July, we're all family. I see people, how's your mama, how's your daddy? That's the kind of community we are. We care about you. I've had a saying, and people laugh at me, but it's the truth. We gonna talk about you, but when you need us, we're gonna be there with our hands out, with our heart out, and we're gonna do whatever we can to help you, because that's what kind of community that this community is. And I hope to God always will be.